Good evening from Mission Control in Houston in the International Space Station Flight Control Room here at NASA's Johnson Space Center. Here's a look at the Orbit 3 team, led by Flight Director Diane Daly and her team of flight controllers working in tandem with Russian flight controllers half a world away at the Russian Mission Control Center on the outskirts of Moscow. Teams are monitoring the automated arrival of the uncrewed Progress 95 spacecraft. It'll dock to the aft port of the Zvezda Service Module here in about 45 minutes. This is its final leg of its 2-day 33-orbit journey, carrying nearly 3 tons of food, fuel, and supplies to the Expedition 74 crew of 7 living and working on the International Space Station. And here you see on your screen, just activated at the time we began coverage, we have a view from the external television camera on the Progress spacecraft. It's looking at the International Space Station. You can see a little bit above the center of the screen there. The numbers we're going to be looking at today are on the lower left-hand corner. You see 2 values. The upper of the 2 shows the distance between Progress and the International Space Station, which is about 10 kilometers between the 2 vehicles currently. Then at the bottom, that is the rate of closure, currently around 15 meters per second, and that'll drop down to 1/10 of a meter per second at the time of contact and capture.
The station in the crosshairs on the go and on Mach 001.
Here's a look at the Russian flight control team in the Russian Mission Control Center outside of Moscow, who are closely monitoring the automated arrival of Progress today and have been doing so since launch just over 2 days ago. While the Corps' automated docking system handles the approach and docking, they are in control and can send commands to Progress if needed. Right now, the Progress 95 cargo spacecraft is currently closing in on 9 kilometers away from the International Space Station ahead of its planned docking at approximately 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern.
We have command will cover 2D.
Both Progress and the International Space Station are currently flying over the Western Pacific. The automated Progress spacecraft has been conducting a series of pre-programmed impulse burns to fine-tune and raise its path to meet up with the International Space Station.
Will cover 2D.
All impulse burns have performed nominally, no issues reported, as Progress steadily makes its way toward the aft port of the Zvezda Service Module and makes its arrival at the space station.
On component 1.
The Corps' automated docking system has completed its checkouts and is ready to guide the uncrewed cargo spacecraft to the aft port of the Zvezda module, where it will spend nearly 7 months docked to the orbiting laboratory.
Fuel BPS on the BPS 21 activated. Range 8.
Progress 95 began its journey to the International Space Station just over 2 days ago on Saturday, April 25th at 5:21 p.m. here Houston time, and early Sunday morning at 3:21 a.m. Baikonur time. That was April 26th. Progress lifted off from Launch Pad 6, Site 31 at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan atop a Soyuz 2.1A booster. All 3 stages performed nominally during its 8-minute and 49-second powered flight to reach its preliminary orbit. And since then, its 33-orbit rendezvous, catching up to the International Space Station, brings us here today. Its automated, the automated Progress spacecraft has been conducting a series of pre-programmed impulse burns to fine-tune and raise its path to reach station. And again, all impulse burns have performed nominally. No issues have been reported.
Range 7.5 kilometers. 10.7 range rate.
Дальность
7 kilometers, range 10 meters per
In about
second.
20 minutes, Progress will arrive in the neighborhood of the space station, about 400 meters out, to begin its fly around.
In the center of
That fly around with an angle of about 15 degrees, it'll enable Progress to precisely align its forward docking probe with the aft port of the Zvezda Service Module, and tracking docking about 39 minutes from now. The uncrewed Progress 95 cargo spacecraft is carrying nearly 3 tons of food, fuel, and supplies. This breaks down to 2.8 tons, or 5,748 pounds. That's 2,971 pounds of dry cargo, including hardware, food, and experiments. 1,741 pounds of fuel, 926 pounds of water, and 110 pounds of oxygen and air. Let's take a look at the 7 Expedition 74 crew members living and working aboard the International Space Station. At the top are the crew of 4 that arrived on February 14th via NASA's SpaceX Crew 12 mission aboard the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft. From left to right are NASA astronauts Jessica Meir, Jack Hathaway, European Space Agency astronaut Sophie Adano, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Andrei Fedyaev. Upon their arrival to the space station in February, they joined the below crew of 3 that arrived to the International Space Station aboard the Soyuz MS-28 on Thanksgiving, which was November 27th. From left to right are International Space Station Commander and Roscosmos cosmonaut Sergei Kudzyrchkov, NASA astronaut in the middle Chris Williams, and cosmonaut Sergei Mikheyev. As you can see here from the external television camera on the Progress spacecraft, Progress is about 5 kilometers away from the International Space Station, closing in on about 8 meters per second. Progress will slow down to the very slow speed of 1/10 of a meter per second upon capture.
I hear you loud and clear on 1.
I hear you as well. We are troubleshooting Moscow not being able to hear you and you not being able to hear Moscow.
Yes, affirmative. So continue monitoring approach. Everything's nominal.
Houston copies. We will relay.
Дальность 4,5 километра, скорость 8,6.
4.5 kilometers, 8.6 range rate. The station is in the center of crosshairs.
As you just heard from our Capcom and Mission Control here in Houston, talking to International Space Station Commander Sergei Kudzyrchkov, there's a comms issue in the circuitry in the MCC in Houston and to MCC in Moscow. There is no impact to rendezvous and docking.
Дальность 4
4
километра.
kilometers range, 8.6 range rate.
Станцию наблюдаю.
Observing the station in the center of crosshairs.
Monitoring today's arrival of Progress 95, our International Space Station Commander Sergei Kudzyrchkov and Sergei Mikhaev. They're currently situated at a control panel in the Zvezda Service Module with Toru, which is the telerobotically operated rendezvous unit. Toru is the backup rendezvous system, and cosmonauts would fly Progress manually if there was an issue with the core's automated docking system. As of right now, all systems have checked out on cores and there are no issues. Rendezvous is proceeding nominally without any issues during this comm glitch that was just reported, and that comm glitch is between MCC Houston and MCC Moscow.
Дальность 3 километра.
3 kilometers, 8.5 range rate. The station in the center of the tower.
SCADA activation is confirmed. Reversal is in progress, and range is 2 kilometers, range rate 4.2 meters per second.
As you heard, the latest impulse burn was performed nominally, and Progress is now approaching at about 2 kilometers away between the spacecraft and the space station, closing in at a rate of a little over 7, or about 4 meters per second.
The ISS is back in the center of the video monitor crosshairs. Range is 1,700 meters and range rate 4.2. I'm on page 20, activating Toro mode. Toro activation command sent, and I'm starting the tests per page 21.
Aboard the International Space Station's Zvezda Service Module, cosmonauts Sergei Kuzverchkov and Sergei Mikheyev are conducting a routine test of the Toru system, or the telerobotically operated rendezvous unit, which is the backup rendezvous unit. Toru would only be used in the unlikely event of a last-minute issue occurred with the automated core's rendezvous system that is in control right now and performing nominally. This is a routine test. We're expecting the Progress to perform its fly around the station in about 7 minutes from now.
Network command and the hand controllers are powered up. PUBPS initial command is sent. BPS initial command is sent, and the central LEDs are illuminated. Range is 1280 meters, and range rate is 4.03 meters per second. Armrests are secured, and I'm starting the RHC test. RHC up. All 4 LEDs are illuminated. Down. All 4 LEDs are illuminated. Right. All LEDs are illuminated, and left, all 4 LEDs are illuminated. Clockwise, all 4 LEDs are illuminated. Counterclockwise, all LEDs are illuminated.
Progress under 1,200 meters between the spacecraft and station, slowly making its way to its final destination of the aft port of the Zvezda Service Module, for which it'll stay for the next nearly 7 months.
And to the right, LEDs in the center and on the edges are illuminated. Pulling the handle towards myself, LEDs are illuminated, and pushing the handle, all the LEDs are illuminated. No issues with the THC test.
You've been hearing the Russian interpreter talking to the cosmonauts in the service module as they run through a routine diagnostics test of the Toru backup rendezvous system, and just heard reports that was a good test of Toru.
And the central LEDs are illuminated. Starting 4.3 testing Toru panel commands, and I don't have any questions or issues with the actions in 4.2.
Включена клавиша «Работа».
Работа. Operation is activated. Range is 800 meters, 880 meters. Range rate 2.4 meters per second.
Выдана пересветка.
AGC mode command send to get a better image.
Now just under 800 meters between Progress and the space station, closing in on a rate of about 2.5 meters per second. Progress has been conducting a series of pre-programmed burns to fine-tune the path on its way to the International Space Station. All have gone by the book. No issues reported as the spacecraft steadily makes its way to meet up with station. Progress will arrive in the neighborhood of the space station about 400 meters away here in about 3 minutes. It will begin a fly around at about 15 degrees. This will enable the spacecraft to precisely align its forward docking probe with the aft port of the Zvezda Service Module, where it will be docked to in about 24 minutes. As you can see here in this cross-haired engineering data overlaid camera from the Progress spacecraft, closing in on about 1.5 meters per second. At the time of contact and capture, Progress will slow its speed down to just 1/10 of a second.
Range rate is 1.6 meters per second.
Once contact and capture takes place, there'll be a few seconds to allow the relative motion between the two vehicles to dampen out. Then at that point, the forward docking probe on Progress will begin to retract to bring the two vehicles' surfaces together. Once the two docking surfaces are together, that'll trigger the initiation of hooks closing, and the Progress hooks will close first, followed by Zvezda, and a hard mate will be formed between the two vehicles.
514 meters. Range rate is 1.6 meters per second. Range is 130 meters. Range rate 1.3 meters per second. We have switched to fly around.
Fly around mode has been activated and has begun.